This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Gather. I guess Ted might have forgotten, so we won't wait. I guess I could text him, but I don't know.
Do you want me to take notes, Tracy?
Oh, that would be great. Thank you. Would be a godsend, actually. All right, let me text just to see. All right. Welcome, everyone. It's September.
I cannot believe it.
Wow, how did that happen?
I cannot believe it.
So here we are. Thanks for coming, and Louise has come for the second meeting, so that's exciting. And who knows? Who knows what will happen? Maybe she will join. Or maybe she will
She's
join
like, I've seen how
the cultural
back
district meetings. Anyway, it's nice to have you, Louise. Thanks for coming. Do we want to push play on the record? You did? Oh, okay, great. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. I was just like, oh, let me grab one of these.
So let's start off with, do we have approval of August meeting minutes? Has everybody gotten a chance to?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Seconded.
Okay, great. Awesome. All in favor, everybody? Yeah. All right, public speak, anybody? All right, well, let's just launch into our programming updates. Escalina, do you wanna go over Art Walk?
So I will just say we have a very full agenda tonight. There's like a lot of updates, so I'm gonna kind of like move through it.
Okay, great.
If people have questions, please stop, ask, let's discuss as needed. But I'm gonna kind of try to keep it moving because there are a lot of things.
Okay, great.
And yeah, so Art Walk. We had a great art walk this weekend, and it was with the River Roads Festival, and I was a little concerned about that. And it was, there were fewer venues than usual, which I thought was, like I noticed. I think we had 7 in all. But it was very well attended at all the different locations. I heard really good feedback from people. And people seem to like know it's on the first Saturday. Like I feel like the radio ads, like I just feel like there's more of a feeling of connection. The show at ECA Gallery is so beautiful. Our artist spent 7 solid days in there installing, and it is just a beautiful show if you haven't seen it. And we had 50 Aero Gallery has a resident artist, Oscar, and he did a performance in the lobby, and like people loved it. And
in Eastworks?
No, in Old Town Hall.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, it was a cool little sort of like exchange of like venues in a way, and he was sending people over there. 50 Aero had live music, which I honestly didn't know about till I saw their post that night. But like, it just felt really dynamic and engaging, and I heard it was like really well attended all around. So I was just really happy to hear that. I feel like it's sort of like a good beginning of the fall. We've got a lot going on next month, which we'll talk about for Art Walk. Also, you know, I'm like being a little mindful of our agenda. There's like a few missing pieces, so I'm gonna fit things in where they're most appropriate. So at last month's meeting, we talked about hiring a marketing assistant. We went over all of the financials for that, and the person who I had met with is unfortunately not able to do it. Graduate school, thesis, just felt like needs to focus. I did reach out to someone else because it's like just a very limited, and now we're looking at October, November, December. We talked about till the end of the year and then reassess and, think about for the 20th anniversary year. Olive Rowell is a recent graduate of Mount Holyoke College. She's a former student of mine. I taught a public art class. It was a mural class. We worked together. But I've hired Olive for Cultural Chaos many times, the floating sculpture exhibition. Like, Olive is great. I've hired Olive as a personal studio assistant at my house to make floating sculptures. Like, Olive is great. Olive has a ton of experience with marketing and like social media and like knows Easthampton. They're living in Holyoke right now. And so I just thought, you know what? Instead of like, we've been talking about this a very long time, and instead of like going back to the total drawing board, I thought, let me just reach out. She's totally on board to do it. And I've worked with her. She's great. She's like reliable, professional, friendly, knows ECA. So I would like to propose that we hire Olive for the next 3 months and then reassess. And, focusing on Art Walk and all of our events, kind of like an events and marketing. Oh, and Olive can come to Art Walk. Olive can come to Porch Fest, capture, document, use it to encourage people. We'll come up with a timeline. And I said, let's pencil in a time to meet so that if we get the green light from the ECA board, we can just like get going. So we talked about meeting on this Thursday morning, just to kind of come up with like, a timeline, how many posts, what to focus on, Easthampton Cultural Council stuff, like opportunities in the community. So it's not exactly Art Walk, but we didn't put it on the thing, so.
It is about Art Walk though.
Yeah, but it is about Art Walk.
Great, awesome. Well, I'm glad you have someone in mind.
How many hours is she working?
We had talked last time about 20 hours a month. So it would be, it's like $1,600 minus $400. Well, that's if they started in October. So like, let's just call it $1,500 between now and the end of the year. And I said to them, if we were to extend it throughout the 20th, like, are you available? Like, absolutely, like, blah, blah, blah. Recent grad, like, art major wants to be doing this kind of stuff. So.
See how it goes. Ted said he'd be here in 5, just
Right.
okay. He'll be coming in. Great. Porch Fest?
Well,
Or do you
should I
wanna-
go ahead and,
I'm sorry. Go ahead
we
and.
should vote, and we do have a quorum, because there's 4 of you here.
Yeah. I'll make a motion of saying yes. All in favor of yes?
Right,
Anybody have questions about that or? Okay.
awesome. I'm kind of glad it landed where it did. I mean, whatever, it all would have been fine, but working with someone who wants the job is a good thing way to begin. Okay, Easthampton Porch Fest. I'm gonna hand it over to you two.
Well, we were just meeting about that. So really quickly, we are on track for a great Porch Fest. We have 12 locations confirmed, up from 6 last year, which is just what we were hoping to target. As opposed to last year, which was just New City, this year it'll be in basically 3 separate neighborhoods. So it'll be a New City and then 2 other neighborhoods, the names of which I do not know the names of, but one is near Pulaski Club and the other is where Maud lives on Mutter Street in that area, basically like off Cottage Street. We had I believe 38 performers submit to perform at Porch Fest. And what we are hoping to do is to have 2 to 3 performers per location. So we are just in the process of finalizing, but we'll probably have around 24, 25 to 30 performers perform this year. So very
From
exciting.
12. So it's kind of like everything got doubled, which was kind of what we sort of roughly were thinking,
Right.
Yeah.
which is great.
So so we're just in the process. Pretty much everyone has been in touch with at some level. We sent out performer confirmations last week and over the weekend, and so we're just doing some final confirmations now. Final confirmations for some of the locations. We are still hoping to get a few more locations if they come for the secondary neighborhoods that are new this year, because both could use 1 or 2 more to flesh them out if possible. And with the amount of performers, we have enough to have people spread out, which is great, or bring in more people if needed. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So we're just in the stages now where we're going to move into logistical planning in terms of getting a CERT team ready to go, coordinating volunteers, making sure we have the police and parking and everything updated and ready to go. So we're in a good spot and we're on track. So
Did you decide to do the tiered, like one neighborhood like at certain times so people can move, or are you?
I think so we haven't finalized it yet. So
Yeah.
basically all the locations know at this point is that they are supposed to hold the day. And so the timing will be from 1 to 5 p.m.
Right.
And so I think what we'll probably end up doing is start the day earlier in New City and then move people down to the secondary neighborhoods. And they're not secondary,
Which are
the
closer
other
to-
neighborhoods, which are closer to Cottage
Cottage
Street.
Street.
Right, so
So that
then we could go
can
into
end.
our wall,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I just booked 2 really awesome drummers for Art Walk to have out here. So that as people are kind of like coming into Art Walk, it's still like fun and
Yeah.
active. One thing I'll add is I had applied for a festivals grant from MCC, $2,500 specifically for Porch Fest. I learned since last month we got it. I also applied for a capacity building grant from MCC for $6,000. And the rules of these 2 grants this time, for whatever reason, is that if you get the $6,000 one, this one goes back into the pot for someone else. But we could use the $6,000, we could use $2,500 of the $6,000 to put toward this. So we're covered no matter what. So that's great. Like,
When will you find out about that?
not until after Porch Fest.
Oh, okay.
I remember I had a meeting with them, which, you know what, is now a good time to talk about art? Is there more?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
Okay. This is another important thing that I'm gonna just insert right here. I'm just gonna choose to. So on the note of MCC funding, there had been discussion. Well, they have been doing a reassessment, a deep dive reassessment of their cultural district programs overall. And I had been hearing some very concerning information regarding there might be a pause on funding, like indefinitely for existing cultural districts. I got real scared because ECA has been getting $15,000 the last 2 years and $7,500 the 2 years before that and $5,000 before that, which as our costs rise for cultural chaos, that is very significant. Cultural chaos this year was an $18,000 5-hour thing. I mean, it used to be 10,000. And it has just ever since COVID, we're going up for the same thing.
Yeah.
For the same, staging has gone up, porta potties, we were paying artists more money, et cetera. So I had been told that. Hi, Ted. I had been told, the last time I reached out to them about this, which was before cultural chaos, I had been told that they were going to be making any decisions by the end of the year. And then at my last cultural district meeting, I told people all about this because it was just we can't find out in December that we don't have funding for June. We start planning in January. It's all hands on deck. So I just set up a meeting with the cultural district manager. We met on Zoom last week. And good news, they are keeping the 15,000 this year.
Oh, nice. That's great.
And they are going to, I think she said it was like within the next 2 weeks, I'll get an email. And it's not even an application anymore. You just basically click and you're like, I'm ECA. We're a cultural district and we want $15,000. It's more like a, yeah, I want that. So that is just like, I am so relieved. I was like really worried about, fundraising for that is possible, but it would change what I'm doing and what we're doing. So I just wanted to let everyone know that is like very, very good.
Did they give, I'm sorry, did they give you any indication that could be going away next year? Or?
They were like, what they're really doing is finding ways to get more rural communities and more urban communities to become cultural districts. It's like really hard to become a cultural district if you don't have a lot of resources already in place. And that's a big, I think it's just fantastic that when funders do these reassessments, because that's what they should do, and a lot of them don't. She was more like, our intention is to like keep this going and to grow it. The state, I know, got a lot of money this year. So I think it depends on that. I think that helped a lot for them to say like, let's not, but there was nothing specific, but I did ask, and it was just very like, don't worry, like future forward. Keep up the great work.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great. So ECA Invitational, do you want an agenda?
No.
Okay. ECA Invitational. So Maud and Tracy and I met with the artist Jeff Casper. He's a professor at UMass. He's really fantastic. He makes work, I think we talked about it last month, that is like very in line with looking at the working title of the Invitational this year is In Each Other We Trust. And it's very much in response to all that has happened at Cottage Street, what is happening in our city, the impacts of that, and looking at ways in which individuals and resources within community can create trust and reliance on one another. And his work is just so perfect for this. And so we met with him at the gallery. It was wonderful. He's so excited. He's like really honored. We're also going to be adding some programming to the Invitational this year. So there's going to be is it Monday, October 28th? From 6 to 7:30, a panel discussion. And Maud is taking the lead on putting together a lineup of speakers, but we're looking to have, looking at different models, both in Easthampton and regionally, where artists are doing really interesting things and having to kind of work within municipalities, within the different existing structures and systems, and finding ways to live and thrive. And so Maud is reaching out to some folks there, and we'll keep everyone posted, but, signed a contract with City Space, reserved the room. It's going to be in City Space so that people can see the show, all of that.
Is it 2024 or 2025?
2024.
Thank you.
Yeah, coming up.
And what's the name of the guy?
Jeff Casper, it's Kasper. And his husband came, and it was like just a really fun little meeting. So I think that's it for that. Yeah. We also spoke last month about an Easthampton Futures Project public sharing. We are in the 5th year of this 10-year vision and plan. And I know I keep telling you all that I'm gonna send it to you. I keep making updates, and now I'm editing this like beautiful document from 2019. But I will send it to you. And we were thinking it'd be great to have that presented at City Space during October as part of the programming of this show, because it's like very connected. We had a lot of trouble with finding dates. There are a lot of holidays in October, and there were just like a lot of conflicts with, and City Space had very few openings because of the Pay It Forward program. So we have reserved Tuesday, December 3rd at 6 o'clock. I'm saying 6 to 8 because I'm thinking it would be nice to do some other things for an Easthampton Futures Project public sharing. And I actually really like that because it gives us more time to plan. I think it's very significant. And I would like to announce our 20th anniversary programming that night. I want beautiful printout, like flat thing, brochure, whatever we want to do. Like have a beautiful sort of announcement of that, a community gathering and announcement. I've already spoken with Bronwyn, and I'm like, that is your first date, is like, we need materials, like a slide, and then also something that we can hand out. And it's just gonna be a calendar of events. So Tracy and I met, like we have the calendar of events for the year. Put that out. Bronwyn is gonna be making a logo. So I would like for everything we do next year, whether it's like anniversary specific or not, it should just, and I wanted to talk to you all, we don't need to figure this out at our meeting tonight, but maybe I'll send a little Google Doc and people can like put, tagline ideas where, I don't know, just something simple like Easthampton City Arts celebrating 20 years. Like, I think it should just be very simple. But then it's like, for all of our art walk, it's like, that's the little thing, like the little banner or the little footer or whatever that's on all of our stuff. And so Bronwyn's super on board with that.
Yeah,
That's the update.
cool.
What else will be, so is the idea at that event beyond announcing the 20th anniversary stuff? Like, are you looking to solicit any public, because I know there's a public sharing, like, what are the outcomes we're hoping for
Yeah.
from that angle?
So that's a great question. So what I'm hoping from this night, I want to talk to City Space to see if we can put stuff up in the hallway. Or maybe it's, both. I would love to bring some like stuff in from the Easthampton Futures Project to like have, there were big, beautiful drawings and boards and documentation, like handmade documentation. So to kind of create a visually engaging space. I would like to present our report and just walk people through what we made as a community. I don't really want to I'll do something very brief, like what it was, if people don't know, which there will be people who don't know. But it's really about the outcomes and looking to say, and making some charts like check, check, check. This is what we have done. Starting a studio residency program was literally a thing people wanted. We did that. All of the work we have done has been guided by that. So I want to show people what we've done. And I also want to highlight what is still to do, or And we did that. We took the goals and strategies from the master plan in 2000, the last master plan, which was like 11 years before 2019. So like 2008, I guess. And we look to say, like, check, we hired we started a festival. And then it's like, here are the ones we haven't done yet. And during the Easthampton Futures Project, we looked to those to say, like, what are of those, what do we want to bring in? So there were like 4 that came up, and it was like working in the high school. Like, it's stuff we've done and could do more of. So it's kind of like, I do think that we did not know a pandemic was about to happen. We did not know that, like, a major, like, racial, like, I call it a revolution in this country was, like, about to take place. We didn't know that Cottage Street would be going through, like, there are some very significant things in the world that have great influence. And looking to this, community-generated document as, like, something to work, like something that's reliable and can be worked with. So I think it's like a sharing in that way, but I also think it's a real opportunity to ask and engage. So, like, we could have big poster paper, like the dots, like, of the things we haven't done yet. Like, what are your priorities? Like, what would you love to see happen next? Like, I don't want to open new cans of worms. I'd rather work with the document and engage people with what it is. And maybe have a thing like, what else would you like to see? But, like,
Well, that might be opening up that can.
well, that's opening, but that's just like giving a space for it, but not like
Like a parking lot.
a parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bike path. Sorry. So yeah, but I think we should have some, like, refreshments. Maybe we can talk to Galaxy, like, just some, like, I want it to be real, maybe like Crooked Stick Pops, like something, like a real, it's special. It's a real special thing, and it's obviously long overdue, but I think it's meaningful at the halfway mark.
Yeah.
And then to announce, like, a 20th anniversary, like, most people in this city do not know we're about to turn 20. I mean, we went out like our July public art meeting. I'm like, oh my God, when is it? Like, I hope we didn't miss it.
You're like,
I
we're
know,
turning
this is kind of
21,
like-
we can drink now.
Exactly,
So what
yeah.
happened?
Yeah, it's really, so anyway, we looked it up. Thank you, Jamie Webb, finding the approval. So, yeah. So I hope you all can be there, like, mark your calendars, Tuesday, December 3rd, City Space. Okay, and then Art Floats Easthampton, we've been talking about this event in the pond. I sent you all an email, like, based on the timing of everything at Cottage Street, it was gonna feel like a rush. People were just like, this is too crazy. Like, having a celebration right now, it's like, let's just one thing at a time. So what I personally would love to do is to, like, because we put a lot of time into planning this beautiful event, I would love to do it in the spring. And I want it a long timeline that people can, like, make their boats and floats. And I want it to be called Art Floats Easthampton. I think it's perfect. Everything we talked about, all the tables on the boardwalk and all the different, resources, artist resources in the community to be there. And to have the exhibit up for cultural chaos. I just feel like, and if there's like 100 like, it's gonna be real sweet.
Do people apply to get into their float into the?
Yeah, so we have, like, all the specs. It's like, how, like, this is the size requirements, like, this is the this is the that. And then it's more like people just come drop them off. We can vet them, like, nothing offensive, nothing that won't float, like,
So
we
it has
can
to be like water, like ready boat, like water ready to go in.
water ready.
Okay, but
We
they
are
don't
going to
launch.
make,
You guys do that.
we are gonna place them. So
Okay.
we will run cables. We tie them to literally bricks. Like, we just tie things to bricks.
And they just are all in the mill pond? Like all over?
They're all right here,
I think
yeah.
they're gonna be attached to each other, and
Yeah,
and there will be a boat that will, because they're gonna have luminaires on each one, so it's gonna happen at dusk, or this was the idea.
yeah.
I mean, maybe that will change, I don't know,
I
but
think when we had, like, fewer like a shorter time, I didn't imagine that there'd be like 1 million boats. But I feel like if we give people like 3 months to make a boat, we're gonna get a lot of boats. So I think we can, like revisit the application process or like how to register. We should have people register.
You go to the website, the ECA website, to register your float.
We haven't talked it
Okay,
all
so
through yet.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, my wheels are spinning because I'm teaching middle school now, and I was just imagining like, oh, it'd be so fun to like
yes.
create like a really awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
right,
we
like-
have all the specs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell,
that would be a great
So
class.
fun, right? Build a boat.
Yeah, because whoever, it's open
Right.
for everyone, it's not
Yeah,
like.
no,
Yeah.
it's
you
and
have
it's
to-
community.
That'd be
Oh,
such a
they're the
fun
specs.
project.
Okay.
This was from our meeting, but
All right, well-
they're right there. So let's talk.
All right.
'cause yes, we want like
I can
children.
take a photo of it right
Here.
now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
And is it going to be a fundraiser or it's not gonna be a fundraiser?
Well, the thing is that ECA, because we're a municipality, we cannot fundraise for a non-municipality. We also are not allowed to encourage anyone to give money to something that's not a municipal thing. So the way that we had worked around that for this event, for you all, is that your group could utilize the platform to do your own, to fundraise. And that is true for anybody. So if the Easthampton Cultural Council is there and has a table and they're fundraising for like a public mural that's gonna be going on next year, they could be doing that too. Or it's not a great example because you're public, but you know, like anybody could utilize the platform in whatever way they wanted. So we had talked about on your website, there was gonna be a link to the fundraiser.
Okay.
But that ECA itself cannot, for anybody, say, donate to this thing, great thing. Yeah. So that still would apply. It's like a cultural chaos, lots of people fundraise. And I like that, I want, you know.
So is the idea, you said spring, so this would be like May timeframe you're thinking?
I bet like May into June, as long as it's up for cultural chaos. Or maybe we just like install it early June and then it's, well, no, because May for that event.
Well, I guess
The
I'm
event
just
should
wondering,
happen
like,
in May.
Well,
I guess it depends on like the materials of the boats, cause
Yeah.
if they're made out of like paper, will they be durable to stay up or to stay in the water?
Maybe we should
yeah, I mean, we might have to take them out and then
put them back
put
in.
them back in.
Yeah, well, there are gonna be some new logistics, cause at first it was just gonna be like a one-night event and up for the weekend. And now if it's up, even if it's up for a week, yeah, we'll just have to talk about logistically what
Yeah,
makes sense.
I mean, worst case scenario, it's not up at Cultural Chaos, but. it would
Well,
be
that's the
fun.
other thing. It does not have to be up at Cultural Chaos, but I think it would be so nice if it was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is the pond committee on board with that?
Yeah, so I had gotten approval from the Parks Department, the mayor's office. I had not, and we talked about it last month, and then my next steps were to talk to the Nashawanak Pond Committee and also Valley Paddler here, just like as a courtesy. I think they will be thrilled. They're happy when the Nashawanak Pond Committee wants people like engaging the pond. They were very on board with the floating sculpture exhibition 2 years ago, 2022. But I didn't get that far because we decided to postpone it, so I just, you know.
Is there a search and rescue plan if boats go down?
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's a
You
good
don't
We
one.
had a lot of that,
I was thinking especially with the electronics or the lighting mechanisms that you might not want in the pond.
Yeah, yes, we had to do a lot of troubleshooting the last one. The most experienced floating sculptor of floating sculptures, his kept sinking. And at one point, Casey Douglas was like in the water, like on a Sunday morning. Poor guy. Anyway, yeah. yeah, people are people, boats are boats. There will be some
There'll be some
Applause.
rescue efforts. Yeah, so those are the ECA programming updates.
Right. Steve or Felicia, do you wanna go over the Easthampton Cultural Council update?
Yeah, really briefly, the new grant cycle for 2025 fiscal year grants is open, and it will be open until October 16th. So we've been posting about it, and then Tracy has actually, I'll pass it back to you, Tracy, for a quick update. We're doing an event around that.
We're doing an info session for anybody that needs information on how to apply, and we did that last year, and it's happened, in subsequent years. So September 19th at ECA Gallery from 6 to 7:30. We will be hosting that, and there'll be very light refreshments, and tell everybody, let people know that that's happening.
And we had a slight increase in our total number that we are able to allocate. I believe it's up $600, so it's around 16K. So again, not a huge amount, but it's great to have more money versus less money or the same.
Right, yeah.
And I believe the last two to 3 years, we didn't have any increase. We just had the same amount of money, which was $15,900 total. So we'll be meeting this fall and into the winter to start to review applications, and then those folks will be our next year grantees. And then we still have a few more grantees from this fiscal year who have not completed their projects yet. So we do have some more programming that's happening through the end of this year. But at this point, I believe everyone has submitted their paperwork. We have a small number of people who are still working through some challenges in terms of putting their programs on. But other than that, we're just chugging away, so. Yeah, if I missed anything else, feel free to jump in, or other two council members.
Check out our website. If you've never been there in a while, there's a calendar. It's not complete, but it's got a lot of the events that are going on that have been funded by us, which is cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
One thing I'll share with you guys is that before, I used to be part of the info session, and one of the things that can be really helpful for applicants is because they have to present their work in public, in the community, feel free to, encourage that, or to let them know that they could think of ECA events as ways to do that. So during Art Walk, they could have their band perform at Old Town Hall or in Eastworks or here on the boardwalk, cultural chaos, a street performer, whatever it is. There's a lot of built-in stuff in Easthampton that they're welcome to, they talk to me, I used to write a lot of letters, they need the little proof to yes, they've gotten permission. So definitely it's important to communicate with me, so you can either share my info or I'm happy to go and just say hi and let people know that.
That'd be great.
Whatever you guys want. I don't want to overstep, but please, it's on my calendar and I'm happy to be there just to listen and
Please come. Yeah.
say hi.
If you're up for it, I think it'd be great to have
absolutely.
you. So, yeah.
Okay, good. I'll plan on that.
Great. All right, so back to the Carter Street discussion.
Yes. So I realize you're here too, so there's one thing I would like to share, and then if there are things you would like to contribute, please.
And is it about Cottage Street Studios or about?
Yes, it's about Cottage Street Studios, yeah. But this is your placeholder, we're just keeping it on the agenda as long as, So one of the things that came up, we were talking about this floating sculpture event, and we've kind of talked about what are the ways that ECA can be involved or not be involved, what is our How do we navigate? Yeah. And on September 1st, most all of the tenants had to make decisions about whether they were staying or not. And the ones who decided to leave have till October 31st to leave. They give them 2 months. There are others, so more than 30 people, so we're talking 80 studios, more than 30 of them are leaving. That is more than 30%. That is very significant. There was a letter, or like as part of the new lease agreements, there was, this clause that people could not use the word Riverside in any way. There were some really unusual clauses, could not speak negatively. There were clauses that are not usual for real estate leases, rental agreements. So there were also a number of people who were not in a position to leave in the next 2 months. People who have major equipment to move, or major jobs, a year's worth of work coming up. So I do know that my understanding is that there are also a number of people who are paying for this year and then are planning to move at the end of the term, of the year. So it's very significant what's happening. We will begin to feel, we already feel the effects of this, and we will continue to feel the effects of this. I have heard that Paragon is now increasing rents. I don't know the details on that. That is literally the sentence I heard. So anyway, I have continued to speak with Ellen Coteen quite regularly. And I've also been keeping in touch with Amy Bennett from Art Stays Here quite regularly. And what I'm hearing from artists on Cottage Street is that what they want is for ECA to write a letter. Now, I know, hold on, I anticipated this. I have asked the mayor on a handful of occasions over the last almost 8 years if ECA could write a letter about something. And I have always been told no, because we're a municipal organization to come out publicly. And I asked her again this time because what a letter can say is, we get to decide what a letter can say. But I said, this is like a building of artist studios in the heart of our cultural district. It's almost like to not say something to me feels a little strange. Why wouldn't we be talking about this? And we wouldn't be bad-mouthing anybody. That's not professional or appropriate for a municipal organization. But I think that it could be a real opportunity to say, the value of arts in our community and what Cottage Street has meant for our cultural district, what our cultural district has meant for our city, to just basically state facts, to just say that we value this. And I got the green light from the mayor. I called Ellen Coteen, who was really advocating for this, and I asked her, I said I was going to see you all tonight. There are a few different ways to go about this, but I asked her that, I said I don't want to ask too much work of her, but it would be important for me that she read the letter. If we are to write a letter, that she read it, she can share it. We can talk about others who might, I don't want to write a letter that isn't helpful, it isn't wanted. So a way to do this, what I am kind of proposing is that in the next couple of days, I start a Google Doc and I write a letter. and I would like to write a letter on behalf of the ECA board. I've done a workaround once where I wrote a letter as my person and talked about because it was really complicated and we didn't have time for the whole thing, and we did that. But I would like to write a letter on behalf of us. And we can't have a discussion outside of a meeting, but you can give feedback to the letter, or you can call me and say, da, 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 da. So like, if there are, or just like, I don't like this, like, no. Like, whatever it is, it can be done individually, but not as a group discussion. Okay, so it's just like important, municipally speaking, I don't know.
You
And
can comment on a Google Doc
you can comment, you can,
separately.
yeah, so like
Okay.
individually,
Yeah.
and we've done a lot of this over the years, like,
it happens.
this is a good way to do it. But I would at least like to try. I would at least like, so, and then the other thing is like, I think that having this published in the Gazette is the right way to do this. And it could also just not be in the Gazette. It could be like an open public letter that we share through our Facebook and that other people can share. There are actually pros and cons to both kinds of ways of doing things.
Can we do both?
We can share whatever we want from our channels, absolutely. But like, if it's in the Gazette, then it's another platform, then the comment section, I mean, it will like be read by many more people.
Yeah, no, that's what
But it also takes ownership away in a way. So, you know, and then there will be an ongoing conversation and like potential responses or not, or I don't know. But I just wanted, so it's a discussion. I wanted to put it out there, and wanted to let you know. But tonight's the night to kind of discuss it. On the one hand, it's like part of me wishes this was like 2 months ago when we were talking about this, but in a way, I think it might be better that like things played out in the way that we weren't looking to influence. It was more kind of like now that this has happened. Anyway.
I'm all for it.
If the mayor says it's okay by her, then it's gonna be okay, because there's gonna be blowback. They've already warned, I think, as I recall, when this first hit, they already warned everybody, we're not gonna put up with any criticisms or blah, 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 blah. The city council they passed some sort of supportive resolution.
Yeah, and I see this more like that.
Yeah.
So it's not so much like, it's more like,
This is what we stand for. Yeah.
this is like, we believe in the value of art. We recognize the value of art in this city. Here's what it has done. Here's what it is doing. Here's what it can continue to do as we like grow and like some businesses are still very much in a place of recovery from the pandemic. Like, you know, that arts is really, we can speak to Art Walk. We can, you know, and we can say like, we're approaching our 20th year. Like, think of Easthampton 20 years ago. Like, there is value. I mean, I think it's just like, we are just saying like, this is what we're here for. This is what we do. So it's more like the resolution approach. And I'd like to reference the resolution, like, you know, very positive. It's obvious, you know, no one's stupid, but we are not here to be like putting anybody down. I'm just not even going to mention any of that.
And if the mayor vets it, I mean, you're gonna submit it to her.
Absolutely. Oh, I told her, like, 1,000%. And you will all vet it. Like, I'm not gonna put anything out. If there's one sentence that, like, people are just, whatever, it's not gonna be in the letter. Or a tone, or this is from us. I just will write it and get it going, and you can add, please, you know.
I think it's important because I think it would be nice to socialize a lot of our internal discussion around these topics externally, with the catalyst being what has happened at Riverside. Because as you
Yes.
said, like, this is not, and you said this very eloquently, Ted, in the last couple of meetings, like, that ship has sailed, we can't do anything, we're not in a position to make change on that front. But what we can do is talk about a lot of the themes that we've raised up, which is, where do we go from here? How do we create a city going forward with this 20th anniversary thinking in our minds around supporting art and artists? And I wonder if there's a way to like loop in the chamber as well, only because I'm just thinking like all of these artists are businesses, right?
Yeah.
And so if we're talking about the value of art, maybe there's an opportunity to also raise up the value of businesses and small businesses in Easthampton. I don't know.
So I worked really hard for years and with Mo Beliveau, who's the president of the chamber, and it was last year, a year and a half ago, the chamber added, because I would say artists are small businesses, but like when artists go to the chamber's website, they don't see language that they feel speaks to them and like their identity. It's very commercial and very, it's different. And so we'd kind of go back and forth because she's like, but these are all the things. And I'm like, I know, but like people don't read it the way, like, that's not what people see. Last year, they added an artist. So it's like, are you a nonprofit? Are you an artist? And the artist rate is the same as the nonprofit. So there is that's like a very significant thing that's been done. But yeah, looking at a third of small businesses exiting a building in our cultural district, that is so significant.
Well, and I think it's an interesting point to, because, we have a viewpoint on, like, what we talked about in some of the past meetings around, like, gentrification and what this means. And, now hearing that buildings like Paragon are following suit, costs are up across the board. I like the idea of using the letter as almost like a call to action to the community to say, like, do these topics, like, do you care about this too? Because we're in the middle of change. And so it's important to talk about that change and also get people involved in being active in that change. So that's how I kind of see this letter maybe being positioned, because what we can talk about with our board is just one piece, but we really need to bring it to a larger platform. So
Thank you. It's great.
All in favor? Aye. Yeah, not that it need a vote per se, but yeah.
No, I think we need to vote. That's great. Wonderful. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Well, the only thing is that, it's a third now and it may be a third next year.
Yeah.
So I did want to mention that. And the other thing is I was going through who all is there. And it's this huge range, there's photographers, ceramicists, glassmakers. The bookbinding community is what's really gonna fold eventually, it sounds like, I don't know. It's just kind of shocking. It's about 10 different mediums that are going on. And then also, like, I'm a newer person in Easthampton, and until this year, I didn't know there was no studios down Cottage Street. I mean, there is businesses. And I will say again too, though, that many of the people in the building are saying we're businesses. And some of them are going to be closed down by this factor because it's not like they can just move somewhere else.
Yeah.
And some are going to have to find a new way forward. We're thinking a lot about what are new artists going to do if they want to be in that building. Like one of the businesses that's getting closed down is a co-op. And that's a possibility as a way to move forward. But her experience with dealing with all this was so bad that she's decided she's not staying for that reason. And then the only other thing I want to say is, what are the answers going to be? Like, I don't know if Amy did speak to you about, the possibility of a new building being And I know 30 to 60 to 80 people are gonna have to find new locations. And some of them, like I said, are gonna have to close because they can't relocate all the glass kilns or all the pottery kilns. And that building actually had a woodworking school, I believe since the 90s or the 80s, and it's gone now. And I believe 5 woodworkers are moving out right now. So there's only gonna be maybe 3 woodworkers left. So yeah, it's kind of it's a mourning for us. And I think the problem is, like, I think the way Riverside looked at it is that they would just, people could move around, but a lot of people are already in the smallest space they can be, so they can't go smaller. And some of them cannot share, which, might be ideal, but because of a lot of different reasons, some people can't share. So, and, most of the people that I've talked to don't want to leave Easthampton. That's where they would like to be. And so if there is no solution, if there is no other place to go, that's what'll happen, is they'll have to leave Easthampton. So.
Yeah. And yeah, I was gonna say, and it's very related to what you're talking about, Amy Bennett had mentioned, at first was looking at different buildings in Easthampton, she's connected to investors and maybe there'd be a way, and I got a little daydreamy, but the fact of the matter is that the buildings that are available here are not large enough for what the need is. And she's looking in Holyoke. There are a lot of empty buildings in Holyoke, and everyone over there is oh yeah, you can come do whatever you want here. They've been sitting on open spaces for years and years, some of those buildings, and there's new buildings. So I think that's very significant. It's things closing and then leaving and then relocating. It's what happens, but yeah, I think that if we were talking about local businesses, if 30% of the businesses, brick and mortars on Cottage Street closed and moved to Holyoke, there'd be a different public reaction. So I think it's very significant.
And the other thing I do want to say is another city, we had about 20 artists in one house. So it was 3 stories. So I think things could be done on a smaller scale. I think the thing that was absolutely unique about Cottage Street was that it literally was built up over 40 years, that a lot of the artists came because they heard even across the country about other artists.
Yeah.
I think most of the bookbinders came because of one specific bookbinder, and then many of the painters came, and a lot of people came because of open studios.
Yeah.
They could see
That's a huge
and dream
loss.
about, I want a studio someday. And I don't know exactly what's going to happen. We are planning open studios, but people before were very excited about.
When are your open? Do you know?
We have May and December.
Yeah.
And it
so
is
will
on
you be
Art
doing?
Walk night. It's the first weekend.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
We'll do a big thing for that.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, there was one more thing. Oh, I guess what I wanted to say is, if Easthampton is a goal, which I would guess, and I'm only guessing, with about at least half of the artists, that's a goal, is Easthampton, not Holyoke, not Williams, not out of town. But if it's impossible, then we don't have any other choice.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know, and I want to try and find a way to work through this year, maybe next year, what is the possibility for the artists that want to stay in Easthampton?
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. A business leader that I was following said a lot of people are hit now, this year, of the results of all the pandemic, and I'm sure that's part of what happened with Riverside, is the buildup over the years. And so what is going to be affordable for us? And I think, Pascaline, that's one thing I'd like to have a discussion with artists. What is affordable? You know, like now our workshop is going to be about $1,000 a month. And to us, that's not affordable.
Yeah.
But we would have been okay up to 800, you know, some people. So I think it'd be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it would give
That's
us
something at the Easthampton Futures, like that kind of data collection.
Yeah, and a lot of people were saying to me, you know, I didn't actually realize like what my square footage rate was. I knew what I paid, you know, and I paid what they asked. But with this big increase in ask, it's got everybody much more aware. And the other thing is that for the artists, it's a future. I don't know hardly any of them that don't want to work at least 10 more years. Or 20 to 30 more years. So it's not just how do I get through 1 year, it's how do I get through, you know, hopefully the next 10 or 20.
Yeah. It's so important. Thank you.
Thanks.
And we do have open spots on our committee. by the way.
Okay.
Is the committee here formed in part because of these places like Cottage Street, like
The
city
committee?
arts? Well, the city arts, like would Easthampton have a full city arts like budget and everything without, right? I mean,
Yeah.
seems like it's good to write a letter.
Well, this
Absolutely.
was the means to revive a moribund town that had
Okay.
empty mills.
Yeah.
What do you do with them? Encourage the arts, and there's a history. You encourage the arts, people start to come, they look around.
What happens? Why isn't there like a bigger like vision? Like, because this always happens, right? Like,
Always happens.
That's the thing. There's so much energy to create it, but then there isn't the same kind of energy and foresight and resources to protect it,
yeah.
to like ensure it. And that's
It got a shelf life.
very, it's not just common, it's like pervasive.
Yeah,
It's
no,
like,
it's just calm. Yeah.
Well, I do think that's one of Amy's goals is to be able
Yeah.
to take care of it long term.
Yeah.
And she said it's a long term problem, so it's going to be a long term solution.
Yeah, and it's
But I
great
don't-
that she's sticking around and like, you know, she could have been Audi 5000 a few weeks ago and she's like seeing it through, which I'm just so pleased about. It's great. Sorry, you were saying something.
I guess I'm just speaking up for, I think with the amount of art strength in Easthampton, I think there's gotta be some answers, you know, obviously we can't recreate the Cottage Street building. And, you know, many of the people in our building have also been in Paragon, also been at Eastworks. And they would prefer to be here, but they're not sure they can. And I think that it would help to kind of pick apart what are the qualities. You know, like one of the qualities, like I talked to an instrument maker, he's moving into a building with no windows. And my husband's a fine woodworker, he can't do his work without the natural light because you can't see well enough. And so that's a wonderful quality in Cottage Street is the light that we have in most of the studios. But I think that, you know, really looking at the affordability, the location, and the habitat, you know, what the ambiance is.
Yeah, and I think there are things in a city around, like zoning is a big one, where it's like, there are lots of buildings, like, but there are restrictions in terms of what kinds of buildings are used for what and, you know, the affordability. So I do think that there is a lot to learn and, you know, could be some ways to go about this. On that note, again, I'm gonna fit it in somewhere. At a meeting or two ago, we talked about we were like, what can ECA do? And we talked about, you know, we don't have 80 spaces, but we did run a very successful studio residency program. And I did reach out to Keystone. Yeah. And spoke with, and Keystone and Paragon are like, have the same co-owner. Like there's, one of the co-owners is like owns the other one now. So that's only from like 2 or 3 years ago. And they meet, so when we had talked to them last summer about what we were talking to them about, we were also talking, like, we were saying immediate term, what are our options immediate term, and what are our options long term? So I reached out to them and I said, we want to like revitalize the conversation and just check in with you to see, is that still a conversation? Could we talk about that with everything going on over here? Like, we want to, you know, explore that again. And so here's what I learned. They have an owners meeting every second Wednesday, which means in 2 days, and they're going to talk about this. She's checking in with all the owners. I talked to Kelly Ritchie, who oversees all like the property management stuff. They currently, in either Keystone or Paragon, do not have any, right at this minute, like spaces that are just ready to go. A lot of spaces are rented because a lot of people are moving across town. But they're working on some spaces now that they're looking to have open at the start of the year. And I said, well, that timeline would be great for us because we're not ready to go. We have to like have meetings about this. We'd have to like I told both of the artists that couldn't have a space that like, if we were to open this up, we would call them and just offer them space. But if we were going to do this program again, we'd have to do an application process. You know, it would take time. So, you know, she's like, well, what are you looking to spend? And I said, well, the last time we were talking about it, this was like for, you know, you all were going to be a sponsor of the program and there might be some minimal maintenance fees, like stuff like that. You know, I said, I think that's what we're looking at. I don't think we're in a position to go into like long-term space rental. You know, we'd have to like have a whole different kind of conversation. I said, so like, you know, but I told her about what we would need in terms of space. It would need to be accessible. There'd have to be, you know, an elevator, like all of the things. But I said, we don't need ground floor. It doesn't need to have a gallery. You know, we'd be very open to talking with you. So I should know more information, whether it's just like, no, we're no longer interested, or here's what we've got coming up. Want to come take a look? So I'll keep people posted, and we'll just see.
Was she receptive? Or
Well,
was it hard to
I
tell?
wasn't talking to the owners, who I was talking to before. I was talking to I called Erin Whitmer, and then she had Kelly call me back to just kind of check in. But I had worked with Kelly a lot last time around on all this, so which was good. So she's going to be bringing this to the meeting and is going to like follow and just like let me know how it goes. But I think she was receptive. I mean, I think, you know, but I think we just don't know yet what they're going to say. But I think it was like a good place to start. It's like back to where we were.
They must realize that this presents an opportunity for them if they have it in space. But on the other side, on the other half of that question, the answer is, what's their going rate per square foot? You got all the space in the world, and if it's $20 a square foot, who's going to be able to afford it? That's
Exactly. So again, like when I talked to them a year and a half ago, she was like, we have space, like you could have it, but like rent free, but we'd need to pay.
Well, I mean, I think, and we want to make sure we don't run into the same issue that happened in Eastworks, which brings up the idea of a long-term lease, which they may not want to get locked into. But I was just wondering, because I feel like, and I think this speaks a little bit to what you were asking, Louise, around like, what can we do? There are buildings, but there's a limited number of buildings. Like there's the massage school, but realistically, like this group cannot go and buy the massage school and make it available. But I wonder if there's an opportunity for you, Pascalina, / us to have more of a joint discussion around this with city council and the mayor and like, you know, the planning department, such as it is at this point, like, because this is a long-term plan.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking there's gotta be solutions that like we cannot do, but that the city can do. I'm thinking about things like, this is minor, but you know how the city has the program where if a senior wants to like volunteer at work, they can get a tax rebate. We have to make it attractive for the private owners to give below market rate or, you know, commit to long-term market rate or non-market rate, whatever it is, leases that's dedicated just for artists, or that they won't raise the rents in a certain number of years. And so the only way to do that is financial, because if I own Keystone, why would I give free space to ECA when I can rent it at whatever amount of money? Like we saw that happen with Eastworks, right? And now we know there's a cafe going into that space, like they're making money. So ECA cannot make these changes or these choices or offer these incentives, but the city's got to be able to coalesce and like come together on something that we could do long term. So that's what I would propose, that we start thinking about having that kind of a discussion as well.
I love this. I mentioned that Tracy and I met with the mayor for 2 hours. Arts and culture is a priority. You know, the election is a year from November, which is just like tomorrow, basically. And she leaves a year from January. So she wants to get things in place. I think, in addition to what you're saying, and I've been saying this since I got here, but the real estate, the realtors, the real estate companies have so much money, and people are moving here. And I can't tell you how many real estate listings mention arts and culture. Walking steps, you know, walking distance to the district, or just like monthly art walk, like monthly, like arts and cultural programming, street festivals. Like, it's a real draw. Whether people go to Art Walk or not, people like identify with wanting to be in a community that does that. It's like livable, it's nice, it's all these things. And like there are Percent for Art programs all over the country and all over the world. And I know that they're in Massachusetts. I thought Amherst had one, and I thought Jeff Bagg had something to do with it. But I think Worcester has a lot going on. I think if we could, and we know the real estate companies in Easthampton, like they're our partners. They donate, they've sponsored our events. So I just think like if it was a like Percent for Art for every home sale, or like a $500 check, which is small potatoes, for every home sale, like it just raises money and it just creates possibility. Like, and maybe there was like, it creates a fund that would insure XYZ, or like would cover rent at a program, or I don't know. It's like, yeah, we can't buy the massage school, but like Amy Bennett and her investors are like looking to do this kind of thing. They went and looked at it, and it's not big enough. Like, it's not
Big enough to make money, or big enough?
big enough to support the need based on.
Yes,
Well,
true.
but see, that's where I think like, and that's where if we have a long-term plan, maybe it's not big enough to support the 80 people, but it's
Right.
big enough for some people.
Exactly.
So like, if the city had a fund, for example, or if the investors through Art Stays Here is able to invest in buildings like that, it becomes a portfolio. Because what we are not gonna be able to find is, we cannot find another Cottage Street studio space. It doesn't exist here.
Yeah.
It exists in places like Holyoke perhaps, but we don't have that. So, but we have to create spaces that are varied, because there are so many different kinds of needs, like you said. Like,
And I
there's
know,
places, big equipment, small equipment,
Pascalina
this,
was
that.
excited about the massage school because of the location.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way, that
What a
it could
gateway.
start to,
It would be so great to knit together, like, you know, the old city hall and Cottage Street with like, you know, different buildings. And I'm just thinking like, I mean, this is probably crazy, but just like, you know, could the city help like support an artist cooperative where the artists have a stake and it's their piece of their studio, but like the city kind of helps, I don't know, structure it or something, but that's like where they have ownership, right? Like it's like getting their own.
Is it perhaps time to mention the fact that there are 3 school buildings that have been sitting empty for years? And
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to be any
I
motivation.
know.
I was gonna say,
Or Sacred Heart School
Yeah, isn't there
over in
one
New
right
City.
around the
What
corner?
happened to
as
them?
long as I lived
The
here.
last I heard, like Wayfinders bought 2 of them, but like I haven't heard anything since.
What, schools?
Yeah,
For storage, Wayfinders, that .com?
Wayfinders in Springfield, they're a real estate.
Oh, okay.
They do
Thinking of
some
another
really
company.
amazing work. But I heard that like 2 years ago, and it was recently. And yeah, I'll call Jeff back and ask him what the heck ever happened with that.
Sacred
yeah.
Heart School has been empty as long as I've lived here.
I have a friend, he now lives in Denver, but for about 5 years,
He's
he
on
lived
Franklin?
in
Yeah.
it was basically like the Cottage Street building in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and it was all artists who lived and had their studio spaces there, and it was owned by the city, and it was all subsidized. You had to be an artist to get in there.
Wow.
And you paid like so much, like half
Bridgeport?
what market rent, and that's how Bridgeport, when I grew up, was terrible, and now it's much better.
Cool place to live.
Yeah.
Really? Bridgeport?
Mm-hmm.
I'm from New Haven, so.
Well,
Can't convince me that Bridgeport is anywhere on the maps, but it's got, but you're right, it's got.
Got better.
And it was residential too?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he lived right in his own studio.
I mean, I know places like that in New York where it's like you have to be an artist to get in. Like you cannot live there unless you prove that you're an artist. But yeah, I mean, like I think there's got to be some kind of like rethinking of like
Right.
I know we talked in one of our last meetings about even like coming up with and you said maybe this exists like a list of the spaces that we could leverage, like the schools or the massage shop, or I know this came up on one of the Facebook posts recently, the old autos body place that's totally run down that's right next to the massage shop.
I think they're one property.
I was
Well,
open.
That's what I
I
heard.
don't think so, because in the
Oh, really?
Facebook post, people were saying that some woman had bought it right before COVID. So it's not related to the massage shop, but that it's just been sitting empty. But like there's spots, like maybe there's also the opportunity to have like an inventory of these spaces and be able to answer like what's going on with the schools and like, you know, what can we do with this? And
What's going on with Keystone? Like, what are their 20-year plan? Because they've got, 20,000 square feet of just open space on the top floor?
beyond Keystone, the Ferry Street, like that whole, it's like those 3 other properties are gonna be
Keystone's
empty.
plan was $18 a
Yeah.
square foot.
I mean, that could be the plan.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I used to, I mean, this was before COVID, but they were gonna build a theater up there. They were looking at making condos, then they were looking at making a hotel, like a boutique hotel.
But they haven't done it.
But if they haven't done anything,
Yeah.
that's when the city can come in and say, like, we can help you, you can help us.
Yeah, make it like a mutually beneficial proposal, essentially.
I would like, so on these notes, I would like to set up a meeting with Connie Denham, the city councilor who's been real involved. She and I have never sat down and had a meeting together. If anyone here would like to join me, I'm please come, to talk about these things. And just, she's been real, I feel like of all of our current city councilors, I mean, Omar is amazing, but he's running for state rep. So I just think of a meeting with Connie and getting a sense of where are we at, what might be possible, what's out of bounds, would she maybe come to one of our meetings and talk to us about this, or I don't know, just it might be a good place to begin, if that sounds.
Yeah.
And there is supposed to be new economic development funding. I don't know how much is gonna come to Easthampton, but
From the
that Connie would
state?
probably know.
Yeah,
about it.
that's good.
Yeah, so that was recent news, and I don't know if that means next year or if it means this year, but
Okay.
Great.
Great.
I think
Oh, I
that
did
almost
put
like,
that on.
it kind of covers both of these things, like, in a way.
Yeah, I did put it on the thing, I forgot.
Yeah.
I didn't see it, staring at me. Yeah, I mean, I feel like for the 20th anniversary year, I kind of gave all the updates there are, talked to Bronwyn, like, things are in place. We have one thing I didn't mention, future programming, new business. So this is kind of I feel bad. I made this, Tracy was traveling last week. I'm like, I'll make the agenda. I'm like, I'll submit it. I forgot to send it to you guys till today. I made this and I forgot some things. I just have to say, new business, public art committee. Have a heart for public art. We raised money to restore the mural on Pine Street here in our cultural district. And we are getting going on that. I'm gonna be out there either this coming week or the following week to just learn about, like, I met with the artist out there, I've secured a scaffolding, blah, 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 everything's falling into place. And I'm gonna go out there in the coming week or the next one, within the next 2 weeks, and I'm gonna be out there and I'm gonna be getting to know the wall and I'm gonna be getting to know the colors, color matching from the original. The original colors look nothing like that. It is like a big, bright, I should have brought all the pictures. It's like, wow, I had no idea. So getting to know the colors, and then I'm gonna be doing a little tutorial with members of the Public Art Committee. If anyone from this committee wants to be part of that, help out, you're welcome to. We're gonna start on the bottom and work our way up, and then the top few feet, like 3 to 4 feet, cannot be reached via scaffolding, so we'll do those by ladder. That's how we're gonna do it. That's the plan. And you weren't at our last public art meeting, but FYI, we're having an unveiling
Of this updated mural.
of the updated mural on Saturday, October 19th at 2 p.m. Little celebration. And I'm like, what about food? What about music? Nobody wanted that. I couldn't, everyone's like, no, Marsha Morrison, no. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah.
I know if I had been there, I would have been like, yeah,
Yeah,
we need
but
food.
everyone's like, have them go to the district, so like all the shops are open, they're like, have them just like go to, just, we're keeping it simple, so that's happening. I'm very excited.
When are you starting the?
Like, I had said next week, it'll be in the next week or two. I think getting to know that wall is gonna take me a minute. But the tutorial will happen like in 2 weeks.
I have a question that's related to this. There's a new mural on
Yeah.
with a sneaker store is or something.
Yeah.
Something.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
It was,
walking down the street one day and I just kind of noticed it. It's like,
You didn't say it,
Cool.
where
yeah.
did that come from?
At the sneaker store, Head and
I
Sneak?
think so.
I bet, well, I don't know, I imagine, I know,
Between the two buildings.
oh, cool.
Nobody
I
said,
always wanted to paint
either
there.
someone did it
By
privately.
like
or-
Luthier's? That little
Yeah.
that,
Down
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah, there is a
Yeah,
mural there,
cool.
but is there another one? Or is that?
I think it's new.
There's-
I
I
remember
think it's
seeing it.
new.
Like,
I mean,
wow.
it looks brand new.
it's not the Easthampton Cultural Council one.
No, we haven't done
No.
anything.
No, there was one, it was from like a year or two ago.
Yeah, no, it's not,
It
it's not,
is.
not that one.
It looks
It's a newer
relatively
brand.
fresh.
I think
Yeah.
it's something, they must have done it privately, so, yeah, which is great.
It's like, wow, where did that come from?
Who was I talking to recently? Who would it have been? They were saying that, who was this? My memory is just, well,
Jason from the skateboard shop? No.
no. But they were saying that they wanted a mural. It wasn't that Mission Taco. It wasn't Mission Taco saying they wanted a mural in their courtyard, but it was someone saying they wanted a mural. in
Mission
there.
Tacos courtyard.
But like, oh, I know who it was. It was the building inspector's assistant, Jill. She was saying that she was talking to the landlord, and the landlord of the building wanted a mural in the Mission Taco. And I'm like, well, how does Mission Taco feel about this? And like, she didn't know. But there are new owners of Mission Taco,
Oh, really?
Oh,
FYI.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's like new news.
For this
It's a
one or
new
for
one.
the both of them?
I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think for both of them, but I'm not, but I don't know for sure.
And the ivy on that wall in the Mission Taco courtyard, they're like hundreds of birds. Like if you sit there, there's just like constant activity and tweeting, and it's like I was thinking it would be cool, but like you'd have to do like an environmental impact statement or something. 'Cause
Interesting.
they're just the ivy like rustles with
Yeah.
like it's like a condo.
Yeah, we were
Have you seen
we were with Vincent Corsello at the Urban Food Brood, his new place in Springfield for their Friday night thing, and they had us set up under a tree where he was like, by the way, there's a bunch of sparrows and just be shitting on you all night, which was in fact what happened.
Wow.
So,
Feed them and they will come.
yeah.
Well, but it's the same thing. The wall is covered in ivy, and it's the same thing. It's like, you know, rustling and moving, and all the birds are flying in and out.
Cool. Well, is there any more new business? Anybody?
the Oxbow is celebrating 20 years.
Really? This year or next year?
When?
This year. I mean, we're just we had like a 20th anniversary, well, sort of like a show. It was called Then and Now, and that was the August group show. And so people put in pieces that they made 20 years ago and then a current piece. And we hope to have some sort of lecture thing going. It's we're just having a soft celebration. Like, we need you to be on board. Have food, have a party. But yeah, so.
All right, well, that's.
Maybe the October Art Walk.
Yeah, maybe, right?
A bunch of people will be coming through the district.
Yeah, I'll write. I mean, I think we just want to keep celebrating and talking about it over this for the year. But yeah, I mean, parties are good, so.
Parties are always good.
Parties
Yeah.
are good.
Oh, big party.
On that note, new business. I am gonna bring this to the table. I think we should put it on an agenda in the future. But Tracy Eller has been really advocating that ECA bring back our December party at City Space. And I think that our 20th anniversary is absolutely the perfect way to do it. December 2025. I think it should be a fundraiser again. It was a fundraiser for years, and then it was like volunteer appreciation. But I think we should really make it a fundraiser. Oh, and I can't remember if we talked about this or if I just wanted to talk about this. This is all new business. I think for our 20th anniversary, we should have a fundraising campaign all year long. And I think I would like to put together a little fundraising subcommittee of our group. We always do that for the new people here. We would always, for our annual fundraiser, we'd have a team that would like organize the whole thing, like silent auction, like what else do we need? Who do we want to call for food? Like blah, blah, blah. How many tables do we need from a caterer or whatever? Like, I think we should have a ECA fundraising team that's like in conjunction with the 20th anniversary.
I mean, I think it should be a big splash.
But I think all through the year we can have,
Yeah.
and at every art walk, we have a table and someone's like, I just think we should set some goals, like, let's raise, $50,000 by the end of the year, or, something.
Big.
It could be, well, whatever, I was gonna say 25, but I'm like 20 for the thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
I just always do that. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's just like, I just think,
Yeah.
let's utilize this moment to get people connected.
Great. So on that note, let's adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Happy September.
Happy September.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.